Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
Matthew, this weekend we're seeing the Community Leaders Breakfast coming up in Dubbo. Can you just give us a bit more of an idea of what that's about?
Yeah, sure. It's something I'm really excited about, actually. This is something that's unique across this nation. Nowhere else in this country can you find all three levels of government, local government, state government and federal government, standing side by side in an open forum on a regular basis. And this is something we started many years ago, and it's been incredibly successful. Having those three levels there, it stops any buck passing that might occur. It stops one level of government saying, oh, it's not our problem, we have to go and talk to another level. Makes it very frustrating for residents. So we have all three of us standing there, the state member, Dougal Saunders, the federal member, Mark Colton, myself, and of course fellow councillors are standing there, and the public just comes along and talk to us about what's happening, gives us ideas, gives us some feedback. There's a whole range of discussions that occur, but the great thing about having all three levels there is that there are some issues that go across more than one level of government. So having all three there together with the public means you can have those very open and very transparent discussions and really get to the bottom of which level of government should handle things, what needs to be done about various things. So it's a really uplifting experience, I find, and it's a great contribution that the federal member and the state member make to that event by having all three of us there together. I think it's a very open forum, a very transparent forum, and it's something that, again, we've done for a long time, and I hope we continue to keep doing for a long time.
Absolutely, and I guess at this time when we're dealing with the aftermath of flooding and a wet summer ahead, it's probably a really timely event as well.
Well, you're right there, and also roads. That seems to be what everyone wants to talk about, with good reason, because the roads are in terrible condition. And the roads are one of those things that do touch all three levels of government. Local government's responsible for a lot of the roads. We've got about 2,760 kilometres of roads in our local government area, but some of those roads are classified as local, so local government's responsible. Some are classified as regional, so some of those we look after, but the state government gives us some funding for, and some of them are deemed state roads, which the state government's entirely responsible for. Just to confuse the issue, the federal government will also come along, typically on a one-off or an ad hoc basis, and fund other projects. So, for example, we've got a bridge opening coming up soon where the federal government contributed money as well as state and local to that particular bridge. So roads, having a discussion about roads with all three levels of government there is a perfect example of where you need those three levels there together.
Exactly. I guess it would help clear up a lot of things, including we have seen some issues come up in flood-affected areas lately about flood recovery funding for roads and exactly what that can be used for and that sort of thing. All those sort of technicalities, I guess.
And that's right. You've got some of those things that are very technical in terms of how that flood funding can be used, but it's also just about finding out how to go about things. It is confusing for the general public about which level of government deals with which things, because sometimes there is a bit of crossover, or sometimes there's very clear lines of who needs to deal with certain things. And so just having the three people there, the three levels there, having the residents come along and ask about things, they can also learn about who looks after things. But again, there's that crossover. I mentioned roads. The health system's another one. The federal government collects money from the health system through Medibank, for example. So you might immediately assume that the federal government's responsible for health, but hospitals are something that is funded by the state government. So you get that crossover, but then we had the new cancer centre open in Dubbo recently, and both state and federal contributed funds to that cancer centre. So it does get confusing for people. Having the three levels there means that confusion can be cleared up as quickly as possible. We typically get anywhere from 50 to 100 people turn up. We have some coffee, some breakfast. We put on egg and bacon rolls, a few little simple things there for breakfast. So even if you just come along and have a bit of free breakfast and have a bit of a chat to some people around there, it's worthwhile to do that. So I love the idea. I love having these events on. It's great to be out there chatting to the public about a whole range of random ideas that will come forward. So just to tell you when it's on, it's this Saturday from 7:30 to 9:30am at the Rotunda, which is on the corner of Church Street and Macquarie Street, so the Rotunda there, the Cyril Flood Rotunda there. So it's a great little spot to have it. The sun will hopefully be shining, hopefully no rain on Saturday morning, and it'll be another great event.
Excellent. And do people need to RSVP or can they just turn up?
No, that's the great thing about it. You just turn up there whenever you feel like it. During that 2-hour period, turn up and there'll be people standing around chatting, and sometimes it's a bit hard to get to the particular person you want because there might be a few people in front of you. But again, I've found most people are pretty patient, and sometimes people will join in the conversation. So it's not as if you're going into an office to have a private one-on-one conversation. So be aware of that as well. If you've got something that is personal or confidential, you're still better off booking a meeting with one of those representatives. But if you're happy for other people to hear, sometimes that can help the whole community hearing those conversations.
Excellent.
Mero Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.